Welcome to the Gloria Hassel Show with your host Gloria Hassel. We are continuing our discussion about the UK, the development of the UK and the West, and the evolvement of how women have evolved in the midst of all the development, technology, and how it's evolved, and other matters. So my host is David Newell.
Hello.
This program is sponsored by Glandis Essentials and the Gloria Hassel Foundation, and my clothing is by Glandis Essentials. So join me today for today's session. So Dave, last week I think we were discussing about the coals, weren't we? The matter with the coals. So can you give me a brief, what year was the electric heating and the gas heating and all that introduced?
Electric heaters were around in the 1960s.
So
they were just small.
Yeah.
We used to call them small electric fires.
Okay.
They're literally that big, that wide. They got 1 or 2 bars, electric elements.
Okay. Where the heating comes from.
Where the heat comes from.
Okay.
There was like an aluminium reflector behind it, so that pushed the heat out. And they got like a grill on the front to stop you touching the elements. So
is it any different from today's heaters?
Oh,
I think so, yeah.
A lot different.
Yeah, because today has more metal around it, isn't it? That just
the electric heaters today,
yeah,
they're solid,
yeah,
storage heaters,
yeah,
attached to a wall with bricks inside that would heat up and store the heat and let it out gradually.
So it's metal, isn't it? It's metal. Today's heaters.
The framework.
Is
all
metal. Yeah, that's
the inside are
That's it.
bricks.
Okay.
Not ordinary bricks, but bricks you can heat up and they'll give out the heat.
Okay.
Time and time again.
Okay. So at the time there were electric heaters.
Not as such now.
Okay. There were a few.
Only the small portable ones.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So who was using electric heaters then?
Basically anybody.
Okay.
You know, if you wanted a heat in your bedroom.
Yeah.
You had one of those little electric heaters.
Were they expensive at the time? Or the ordinary man could afford it?
Anybody could afford them.
Oh, right.
They were in most houses.
Okay. But they must have come into the system at some point, because I think it started with coal, didn't it? The heating.
Yes, the main heating of the house was coal fires.
Do you know what year the electric heaters came in the scene, or...?
Central heating started to appear in houses generally late 60s, early 70s.
Which country introduced it? You don't know.
Mainly, I think it was the United States of America.
Ah, right.
They had what they call warm air central heating.
Warm air.
One central boiler.
Yeah.
Well, it would be in the basement.
Yeah.
A lot of the houses in America have basements.
Yeah.
It would be in the basement, there'd be ducts.
Yeah.
Going all over the house where the hot air used to go.
Trying to imagine that, figure it out anyway. Yeah.
Basically, it was hot air heating was installed before any floors were put down.
Really?
It would have to be.
So it came from the floor?
Yeah, the duct came through the floor or through the wall.
Wow. Is it like vents, like air conditioning vents now?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Eh?
Then it came over to this country.
Okay.
And because of the climate here,
yeah,
warm air heating wouldn't work that well.
Why not?
I don't know why it didn't work. It just wasn't powerful enough.
Right. Oh, because it's so cold, you mean?
Yeah. A lot. In the winter, it can be very cold. There were some houses.
Yeah.
There were some houses built.
Yeah.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
With warm air heating.
Yeah.
And the people were always complaining, it's too cold. It's not warm enough. So that idea for central heating was scrapped. They're all replaced with what we call a wet system, which is water being pumped through a radiator.
So this idea of the electric heaters, was it like what's the word? Discovered, or was it invented by a Brit or?
I've no
you
idea
have
who
no
invented
idea?
them. I can't
Right.
remember who invented them.
Okay. But somehow they
they
just
were
found
around.
their way.
They were around. Yes.
Okay. So how would you say with technology, with like now, with technology now and then, how has that also changed?
Oh, technology now has made life ever so easy.
Can you give us a gist about life without technology and life with technology?
Life without technology.
Yeah.
Right. When I was at junior school or even secondary school,
Yeah.
there was no such thing as mobile phones.
Okay.
Nobody had a mobile phone.
Okay.
So people talked to each other.
Okay.
Children talked to each other and played.
I like the way you're saying talk to each other.
Yes, talked.
Not on their phones and being
There
antisocial.
was people wrote letters.
Yeah.
They didn't send emails like they can today. They physically wrote a letter and posted it.
Because even now, like with cards, do you think they are fizzling out, like Christmas cards? Do you think it's fizzling out because now people can send cards through online, like through
You
WhatsApp?
can send cards online or through an app on your phone now.
Do you think that's having an effect on physically people sending
Yes.
Christmas cards? Do you think it's sort of going down? It's not
Yes.
as much as
Yes.
before. Okay. So at what point did the phones come in, and how did that change life, and the mobile phones as well?
Mobile phones came in, if I remember rightly, sometime in the middle to the end of the 1980s.
Okay.
And the phones then
Mm.
were heavy,
Mm.
and we called them bricks.
Yeah. I think everybody calls them bricks.
There was one that was made by a company called Motorola.
Yeah. I think they were the first, weren't they?
That was the very first
Yeah.
phone.
I think they were the
And
first.
the charge lasted, if you were talking on the phone, it would last 1 hour. And that's it.
That's nothing.
That's nothing at all these days.
Right.
Another phone where the battery was bigger, it was like you carried like a little box around with you.
I can't
And the
even
phone was
imagine it.
attached to this box.
I can't even imagine that, seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
There were phones, because when I was working with British Gas, they put phones in the vans.
Are these mobile phones?
In vans.
Okay.
So we could contact the office or whatever.
You couldn't carry them round then?
Oh, no.
So they had to be installed.
It was physically installed into the van.
Okay.
You couldn't take it with you. It stayed in the van.
Okay. Right.
And actual mobile phones themselves, you were carrying in your pocket, pardon me, didn't come in until mid-90s
Yeah, okay.
at least.
Okay. Right. Because I remember the early 2000s when Nokia came with their phones. You know them.
Oh, Nokia were the phone to have.
I think it was they were still bricks. I was still call those bricks.
They
mean, they weren't the massive bricks, but all you could do was text, wasn't
All
it?
you could do was make calls, send and receive text messages.
Yeah.
That's all you could do.
Is that all you could you send text on the bricks that were
No.
installed as well? Or just phone calls?
Just phone calls.
Right. I don't know why they were called mobile phones then. Because you can't.
Because they weren't fixed to a landline.
Oh, right.
Because you drove around with a phone in your vehicle.
Okay.
It wasn't fixed to a landline.
Yeah, okay.
So if the office wanted to talk to you, they could ring the phone, and when you got back to your van after you finished the work, you noticed they tried to call you, you would ring them back,
Okay.
or they hoped you'd ring them back.
Okay. So they could communicate with you, really,
Yes,
sort of.
yeah. That's when communication started being better
Okay.
at work.
Right.
And then they brought in computers.
Okay.
Laptop.
Was that after the computers was before mobile phones, wasn't it?
No, about the same time.
Oh,
Laptop
right.
computers.
Laptops.
They didn't have much memory or anything.
Okay.
The ones we had for work, you could only use them for work. You couldn't use them for your own personal.
So this was in the mid-90s.
Yes.
Still.
In fact, British Gas brought in computers for engineers in 1996.
Okay.
September, October 1996.
Okay. Well, they were quite bulky as well, weren't they? The laptops.
The bag we had to carry around.
Yeah.
With everything in it.
Yeah.
It was that long. That deep.
Wow. Because I remember early 2000s, I had this laptop, HP, and it had a base. So it's like I could take the laptop out of the base, but I had to fix it to the base to be able to, for it to be able to run. As soon as I took it off the base, it would go off. I mean, that's my memory of my very first laptop. It was an HP, but once it was fixed to the base, I could use it as a laptop.
Yep.
So if I had to use it, it had to be fixed to that base. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
It had to be connected to a power source.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's how the laptops came at that time, if I'm right. That's right. Yeah, until they got to the point where you could actually move them about and work with them without it being attached to anything.
Yeah, the first ones we had at British Gas.
Yeah.
When it was in the van, it had to be plugged in.
Yeah.
So it would keep a charge going in the battery.
Yeah.
So you take it into a job, do what you got to do on the computer.
Yeah.
Back to the van, plug it in before you start it off.
So could you work on it without it being plugged in?
Yes.
Okay.
But you'd also have a mains power lead in the bag.
Yeah.
Which, if your battery was getting low, you could plug into the customer's power supply.
Okay.
If they let you.
They were quite bulky as well.
Oh, they were very bulky.
Yeah, because
very bulky.
That HP I had was quite bulky.
Yeah.
I mean, that base I had to insert it in was quite bulky.
Compared to laptops today.
Oh yeah.
The battery life is 10 times longer.
Yeah.
You can work on it anywhere. You can connect to Wi-Fi, because there was no such thing as Wi-Fi then in the 90s.
Yeah, because you had to dial through on a landline.
The first connection to the internet was through telephone lines.
Yeah, I remember that as well. Yes. That was in the 2000s. They were still doing that.
Oh yes.
Yeah, the networks, the internet networks had to dial through a landline.
In 2006,
I remember that.
I changed companies. I left British Gas.
Yeah.
I went to work for a central heating boiler manufacturer.
Yeah.
And they gave us laptops.
Yeah.
And when we wanted to connect to the company system, we had to do dial-up.
Yeah.
To our own phone network at home.
That's your landline. Yeah. Because I remember the dial-up thing, because in the 2000s, I was living in London then, and I remember I went for, back then you could just you needed the internet at home, and I needed a house phone, and they would literally install the house phone for you as well. It was like it came as a package, and I think I was with Sky, so they would insert the house phone if you didn't have one, and then they would give you your modem, and then you'd have to dial through the house phone to be able to connect. And I think they weren't as fast as well then.
They weren't as fast as they are today.
Yeah. I think the wireless is much faster now.
Oh yes, a lot faster.
So back then, how do you think the internet has changed the world then? I mean, relatively compared to...
fantastically.
Yeah.
You can actually talk to somebody through your computer the other side of the world.
You couldn't do that before?
You couldn't do that before. You could talk to them by phone, but you couldn't talk to them and look at them.
Okay. Thank you for joining me on this session. So we've come to the end with our discussion with Dave Newell in regards to the development of women in the West, generally development of the West, and how life has evolved with the internet, and how women have also evolved with their careers. This program is sponsored by Gladys Essentials and the Gloria Hassel Foundation. And if you'd like to sponsor us, please contact the number on your screen. Thank you for coming along and joining me for today's session. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Gloria Hustle Show comes your way every Saturday, 7 p.m. on Sunny TV with your host, Gloria Hustle, to break down the importance of addressing and discussing issues like current affairs, marriage, culture, economy, health, wealth, and education on Gloria Hustle Show, 7 p.m. every Saturday on Sunny TV.